Yesterday, US President Donald Trump started the new year by ripping into Pakistan, courtesy one loaded tweet. Trump declared that America had foolishly given aid to Pakistan over 50 years and in return had gotten only lies and deceit. And there will be no more of this generosity. Today, the White House confirmed that the US has suspended its $255 million military aid to Pakistan for now, saying that the fate of such assistance will depend on Islamabad's response to terrorism. Tonight, we're asking, did Islamabad know in advance of Donald Trump's indictment? And this is why we're asking this. Hours before the US president's tweet, a Reuters report surfaced which said that the Pakistan government is planning to seize control of charities and financial assets linked to global terrorist Hafiz Saeed. After Trump's tweet, news started trickling in of Pakistan banning Hafiz Saeed's so-called charitable organizations, the Jamaat-ud-Dawa and the Faleh-e-Insaniyat Foundation, from collecting donations. And this is the first time that Pakistan has made a major move against the Mumbai terror attack mastermind's vast network. The timing of this so-called crackdown on Hafiz Saeed is fairly conspicuous. Is an already globally isolated Pakistan now in damage control mode? Trump's scathing tweet has prompted Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi to go into a huddle with senior officials of his government. He chaired a meeting of the National Security Council to discuss the US president's action. Pakistan's ambassador to the US was summoned for this meeting, for a meeting earlier, in fact. And even if you look beyond the last 24 hours, the warning signs have been too obvious for Pakistan to miss. Ties between the US and Pakistan have steadily chilled since Donald Trump came to power. In August last year, Trump declared that Pakistan often gives safe havens to terrorists, to agents of chaos, violence and terror. The same month, he called on India, which is Pakistan's arch rival as Pakistan sees it, to do more to help stabilize Afghanistan and the South Asia region. Last month, during a visit to Afghanistan, the US Vice President Mike Pence issued a warning to the country, saying that Trump had put Pakistan on notice. Then finally, on New Year's Day, the US suspended its $255 million military aid to Pakistan. So this has been building up. Let's take a look at the reactions to this. Trump's tweet lambasting Pakistan has triggered a series of responses, both from the subcontinent as well as from across the Pacific. This evening, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Khwaja Asif tweeted to say that Trump can hire an auditor based in the US at Islamabad's expense to go through the accounts of the $33 billion in aid given to Pakistan over 15 years and verify who is lying and deceiving. Imagine the cheek. Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf chairperson Imran Khan took on Donald Trump earlier today, saying that the US president was unaware of the conditions in Afghanistan, weighing in on the tweet by the American president threatening to cut aid to Pakistan. He remarked that Trump was unaware of the conditions in Afghanistan, saying that Pakistan had lost 100,000 billion. That's correct. $100,000 billion and 70,000 lives due to America's war on terror. Listen in.
कोई समझ ही नहीं है कि ये जो सारी अफगानिस्तान के अंदर जंग हुई और जो पाकिस्तान में तबाही हुई, उसको ना लगता है कि उसको कोई बैकग्राउंड की इसकी नॉलेज है नहीं इसके पास, और इसको लगता है कि इसको ब्रीफ उन्होंने किया है जो कि पाकिस्तान के दुश्मन है। सबसे पहली बात कि ये कहने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि एक वक्त पे 1.5 लाख नेटो के फौजी थे अफगानिस्तान में, 2 लाख से ऊपर अफगान फौज, और ये कहने की कोशिश कर रहा है ट्रंप के ये इसलिए 16 साल में इसलिए नहीं जीते क्योंकि पाकिस्तान से इमदाद चंद हजार लोगों की आ रही थी। ये कोई भी मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं जो कि हकायक जानता है।
Meanwhile, after Washington confirmed that they have suspended $255 million in aid to Pakistan for now and said that the fate of such assistance will depend on Islamabad's response to terrorism on its soil. In a statement, the White House said, and I quote, "The president has made it clear that the US expects Pakistan to take decisive action against terrorists and militants on its soil, and that Pakistan's actions in support of the South Asia strategy will ultimately determine the trajectory of our relationship, including future security assistance." You can imagine the response from India. New Delhi has welcomed President Trump's tough message to Pakistan on terrorism, saying that their stand is now vindicated.
administration's decision today has abundantly vindicated India's stand as far as terror is concerned and as far as Pakistan's role in perpetrating terrorism is concerned. Because at the end of the day, a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. Terror is terror, and it does not spare any single nation, any single country, any single region.
No prizes for guessing which country is supporting Pakistan. China has defended its fair weather friend and praised Islamabad's efforts and sacrifices to counter terrorism. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said, and I'm quoting, "China is glad to see Pakistan engaging in international cooperation, including counter-terrorism, on the basis of mutual respect so as to contribute to regional peace and stability."
多次说过，巴基斯坦为打击恐怖主义付出了巨大的努力和牺牲，为国际反恐事业做出了突出贡献。国际社会对此应该给予充分的肯定。我们同时也乐见巴基斯坦同其他国家在相互尊重的基础上，开展包括反恐在内的各项合作，共同致力于地区的和平稳定。至于中巴之间，我们是全天候的战略合作伙伴关系，中方愿意进一步深化与巴基斯坦在各个领域的合作，进一步造福中国和巴基斯坦两国人民。
And joining us this evening, Kanwal Sibal, a former senior diplomat with us from New Delhi, Richard Weitz, Director and Senior Fellow at the Center for Political Military Analysis at the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C., Michael Kugelman, Senior Associate for the South Asia Program at the Woodrow Wilson Center, also from Washington, D.C., and my colleague Taha Siddiqui, WION's Islamabad Bureau Chief. Good evening to all of you. Taha, let me begin with you. The Prime Minister of Pakistan held a meeting of the National Security Council, which has just concluded. Do we know what has come out of it?
Well, Palki, interestingly, that there has been no statement issued as of yet, which is quite surprising because everybody was waiting for a word from this particular meeting. But despite that, and this is not the first time we've seen that kind of restraint and no statement being issued. It seems like the Pakistani officials are sort of restraining themselves, except for that Khwaja Asif's tweet in which he talks about an audit firm, which is more of being read as rhetoric in Islamabad. Other than that, you know, the Corps Commander Conference happened. Also, out of that, no statement came out, just the fact that it was discussed, this particular issue was discussed. And then after the National Security meeting, also just visuals have been released to the media without any statement, without any word as to what was discussed or whether or not there is a sort of a future course of action. So it might be indecisiveness or it might be sort of restraint. We don't know as yet.
Kanwal Sibal, it sounds a bit churlish to me, the kind of statements emanating from Pakistan, from people in power, including the foreign minister who says, do an audit at our expense based in America and you will know who's lying and who's not. But beyond what's coming out in the public domain, how do you read Pakistan's response and how much trouble is it in?
Well, you know, there have been crises in US-Pakistan relations even in the past, and so it's nothing new. In fact, Osama bin Laden was killed on Pakistani soil by US Special Operations Group, and even that did not destabilize the relationship beyond a point. And the fact that US aid to Pakistan has come down in recent years is because the US presence on the ground in Afghanistan has come down too. So there's a correlation between the two, and $255 million is not much of a figure. It's a symbolic gesture that the United States has made. The real answer would be if they then put pressure on the IMF not to come to Pakistan's assistance and then apply sanctions as they have applied against Iran and North Korea and even Russia in degrees, not on the same scale to start with, so as to send a very tough message to Pakistan. So Pakistan will read this as one of Trump's tweets, which he's in the habit of tweeting, as he's done in the case of North Korea. And the North Korean dictator has actually defied Donald Trump in equally unmeasured language. So Pakistan will also defy United States. And you mentioned earlier on the statement made by the Chinese foreign ministry official. That's where the real support to Pakistan will come, because China is investing a lot of money in Pakistan. United States is not investing any money; they're just giving some aid, and the prospects of the kind of money that will come in with all the problems, of course, this might create are enormous. And what is very cynical about the Chinese statement is that it is lauding Pakistan for its contribution to counter terrorism in the interest of regional peace and security, which means that the terrorism they direct at India actually is contributing to regional peace and security. This is absurd. Actually, China is defying the United States and clearly sending a signal to Pakistan that we will cover you, we will protect you, and we will help you defy the United States of America. There's a very serious power game that is going on.
Right.
And I'm afraid that I don't have much confidence that despite what has been done, and we should welcome it, that there will be real concrete steps that will be taken to begin a process of real sanctions on Pakistan, not simply delay or withdrawal of aid.
I understand where this is coming from, and we have learned to take everything that happens with regard to Pakistan with a pinch of salt. Richard, the problem with Donald Trump is that nobody takes him seriously even when he's serious. So when he says this must stop, is he going to stop it? Because he said it in the past. Do you also see this gesture of cutting $255 million as largely symbolic?
Well, I'm not sure that people, at least foreign observers, are so readily dismissing what Trump says. I mean, that was the complaint we heard about the previous administration, that it would draw red lines, make statements, and then not enforce them. Trump may proceed along that route, but so far his statements, because they're so deviating from what you normally hear from U.S. presidents, and particularly the tweets, they have gotten a strong response. And so I think that it is possible that on this occasion, given Trump's reputation for somewhat erratic comments or unorthodox behavior, attributed anti-Muslim views and preoccupation with terrorism, that there are some people in Islamabad who may be more concerned than usual about these kind of statements. I mean, as we know, these people in Washington have been saying these things for at least a decade. But I think Trump, for the reason I just gave, may at least be able to have more credibility in what he says.
Michael, your thoughts on this? Donald Trump we've seen a lot of bluster coming from the White House in the past, and we understand that he's a more transactional sort of a guy, not your typical diplomat or politician. So he says, 33 billion invested, what have we got in return? Maybe we should stop this. That's how he's seeing it. But is everyone else on board, and are they going to go the whole hog and let China then occupy that space?
I think the big issue now is that the U.S. and Pakistan are on a collision course. I mean, effectively, the U.S. has said that Pakistan needs to do more about terrorism and it needs to do it now, whereas Pakistan has basically said it's already done so much and it's not willing to do any more. So I think that this suggests that the relationship, setting aside this tweet and what it entails, this relationship is going to face a lot of major tests over the coming year. And it's true that what was said previously, we've been here before. What Trump was saying in the tweet, the rhetoric he was using, what he was demanding has been demanded by him previously. The Obama administration has been making this made this demand so many times. But I think now the added variable is that the Trump administration has given pretty strong indications that it's willing to go further than other administrations before it in ways that would entail not just withholding or cutting aid, but also, doing other things, whether that be expanding drone strikes or revoking Pakistan's non-NATO ally status. And, to be sure, that's not necessarily going to happen. I mean, despite all the tough talk, there are significant risks to the United States and its interest if it were to take drastic measures against Pakistan, given that Pakistan could certainly retaliate in certain ways that could be very worrisome for the U.S. Of course, the major example is the possibility of Pakistan closing down fly routes on its soil that provide NATO vehicles access into Afghanistan. But at the end of the day, I think the bottom line is we've been here before, but we could be going into uncharted territories if the Trump administration decides to go beyond these conversations about aid and withholding aid and doing other things. But that remains to be seen if we come to that point.
I'm running out of time, but very quickly, Kanwal Sibal, I want to ask you this. Is the law of diminishing returns already at play? The US keeps threatening, Pakistan keeps making cosmetic changes, and then it's back to square one. And now we are seeing a more vocal establishment coming out and saying, do an audit, we don't need your money.
Well, I want to make a point, which is that in dealing with North Korea, Trump is depending on China because he doesn't have an answer to the conundrum that the North Korean regime is posing to United States and the fact that it has now acquired nuclear capability and is acquiring missile capability. Now Pakistan already has a well-established nuclear capability, and United States by itself will not be able to handle Pakistan because of this factor, just as they are not able to handle North Korea. Therefore, the question is, are they going to rely on China to put pressure? But China has made it very clear that they're not going to put pressure. On the contrary, at every moment when the United States steps up pressure, China steps in to give comfort to Pakistan. And the United States, in fact, is bringing China in a quadrilateral dialogue in order to have the reconciliation process in Afghanistan move forward. So the United States policy is not very clear. And at the end of the day, the fact that Pakistan is a nuclear state is going to pose a lot of inhibitions on U.S. actions, as has been the case in the past. And the fear always is that if they really press Pakistan too hard, the state might collapse, and all these jihadi groups that are burgeoning in Pakistan may actually begin to get access to the nuclear trigger. So this has always inhibited U.S. policy, and I can't see how United States is going to deal with Pakistan. And I think Trump's thinking is that if he applies this kind of verbal pressure, he might break down Pakistan's resistance. But Pakistan is inured to this, and they will defy United States unless, as I said, there are actual sanctions, financial sanctions that the United States begins to apply, as was the case with Iran, and sanctions individuals associated with harboring Osama bin Laden or associated with the Haqqani group and the Taliban, etc., within the ISI, within the military establishment, within the bureaucracy, within the armed forces. That would be a very telling message, apart from revoking the non-NATO ally status. These could be the first steps that they could take to send a clear message to Pakistan. And I think then the Pakistan regime may begin to come to senses. But so long as they feel that Trump is bluffing, and he has done this in the case of other countries, including India, where he said that we have given billions and billions of dollars that India has made billions and billions of dollars from the United States, which is factually not correct. So he makes these highly exaggerated statements, and therefore Pakistan is not going to take this seriously unless this is followed up by action of the kind which I suggested, which actually can be seen to be something towards which the United States is moving, because
so you're saying a lot can be done, but the US must.
All have been sending very tough messages to Pakistan.
Sure, you're saying a lot can be done, but the US must tread with caution. I'm out of time. Kanwal Sibal, Richard Weitz, Michael Kugelman and Taha Siddiqui, thank you very much for joining us.